It was getting uncomfortably hot. The Kelid groaned and tried to roll over to put his back to the sunlight coming through the tent. But everything hurt and he couldn't move. He opened his eyes and saw the dead gaze of a monster staring back at him. He jerked back, suddenly remembering. He wasn't in his tent. He was at the base of a crater. He couldn't roll because his back was up against the hard, metal side of the impossible flying boat he'd come here to find. He slowly pushed himself to his feet. Nothing seemed broken, but he couldn't be sure. He looked down at the massive corpse lying next to him. It was entirely covered in some sort of strange armor, the same dull green as the boat. Its helmet had some kind of red glass circle on it that almost looked like an eye. There was a crack in the circle, and a thick, shimmering fluid was slowly leaking out. Both the corpse's legs and one of its arms were just missing, the armor where they met the body torn and ragged, with more of that fluid and another thinner, darker one slowly pooling from the wounds. The Kelid put his hand against the side of the boat to steady himself, and quickly pulled it away with a yell. The metal was burning hot. He turned to look behind him, and was nearly blinded by the gout of bright, purple flame pouring from the back of the boat, easily a few hundred feet from where he stood, but he could feel the heat baking off it like it was right next to him. He heard a crunching sound, and turned back to see the orc. Right, forgot about you. Rushing towards him from the front of the boat. It must have worked its way down the cliff while he was knocked out. It let out a bellow when it saw him notice it, and sped up. He grabbed his sword from the ground, let out a war cry of his own, and ran to meet his foe. This is Pod Against the Machine.
Pod Against the Machine.
Welcome back to Pod Against the Machine, the Pathfinder actual play podcast that lingers longer than any other. And frankly, at this point, it's too awkward to leave. I'm your host, and here's everybody.
Hello.
I was going to see how long we could go without saying anything. What if just 60 minutes of silence?
We're going to leave that all in.
Mm-hmm.
The delicious,
Hello.
awkward silence.
Hey.
Well, last time on the program, we traveled from the road outside of Scrapwall all the way to Torch. And on the way, Vargas had an existential crisis as he suddenly realized he's able to cast divine spells quite unexpectedly. He has all sorts of class abilities that he has not explored and dealt with yet. And then, a day or two later, we diffused an argument on the road where some crusaders were bullying some vagabonds. And those people just wanted to get back to Burning Man, and they didn't steal any purses, or so they said, and the crusaders thought they stole the purses, and they weren't fans of Burning Man at all. They thought it was untoward. But eventually, they were guilt-tripped into leaving, because that is the correct and righteous religious thing to do in this situation. And off they went, and it was awkward. And then the vagabonds shared some animal facts and went on their way awkwardly as well. And then we made it back to Torch, where there was a reunion of sorts between Dinvaya and Joram that involved a metamagic rod being passed along to the party, and a polite fading to black. So the party, I believe, when we left, was just sort of hanging out in the Temple of Bry, because, as I said, we're We're lingerers here at Pot Against the Machine.
We're singing Linger by the Cranberries outside of the door right now.
Do you have
To
to?
illustrate the point. He opens the door and asks that. Yeah. Little aside, he still has the thing, right? The power boombox. Did we leave it? Yeah.
The relay?
Yeah, the relay.
The Say Anything artifact. Yeah.
Yeah. The John Cusack box.
Cusack.
It's every 90s romantic comedy going on right now. All right, what's the plan, folks? You just going to sleep on the floor of the temple?
I mean, Asher left.
Just until we get an update on how it's going.
90 minutes of loudly speculating on what's going on inside from outside.
Well, they
Give
just
the listeners what they want.
they just sit in the room going, why would they leave?
Go check the door again. Are they still here? What do you mean they're still here?
I can still hear them. This is so awkward.
We just set up a game of Monopoly. We'll leave as soon as this game is done.
Yeah, it's just called Settlers of Catan. Quick game. In, out.
In 6 days.
So I'm guessing probably go see what's his face, the Foundry next.
Master Bane.
Yeah, Bane.
Corner.
All right. Well, it's not far at all to the Foundry, nor the Foundry. And also the Foundry's right there. But the Foundry Tavern, it's a hopping this evening. The workday ended not too long ago, and the Foundry is open for business. So for one of the first times, I think, in quite a while, at least for all of you, you see this place full of customers. There's people coming in ahead of you, and maybe somebody walking down the path leading over to the Foundry will stop and do a little bit of a double take as they see you heading up there and go hey, it's a very capable four, and then head into the bar ahead of you.
Can we start a cheer?
Asher's been sitting inside for 45 minutes wondering why his friends are still at the chapel. He canonically laughed after he said couples who pray together stay together. He just turned around and left, and everyone else was still sitting in there playing Monopoly.
We'll be right behind you.
All right, so we cut inside the Foundry Tavern where Asher is, hanging out, and you got Connor Bain is tending bar. He's on his robot tripod legs, which are working for him. He's got them fully rigged up, so he's basically just sitting in a sort of seat he's rigged for himself and using the actuation on the legs to walk around, and he's tending bar. And then he's got a couple other employees rushing around. There's a bunch of customers here, but Connor doesn't look super happy in general, though he did definitely smile and greet you when you came in.
And just when we thought the battle couldn't get any worse, all of a sudden an Etten comes in, and she starts screaming about she runs Scrapple. Oh, there they are.
That means you're all there.
How long before I said Asher leave if he's this far into
He
the
said
story?
45 minutes.
Dark. God.
Yeah, Vargas totally died, but it's fine. He's back now.
Yeah, are people freaking out that Asher's back?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a crowd, all of the people who were there, just doing their own thing, have steadily gathered around the bar, and they're, paying rapt attention. So you've basically got, 15 of Torch's finest hanging out, holding drinks, and listening to the story of Vargas getting his head bashed in.
Yeah, if you could believe it, it ended up with just Brixby and myself, and all manner of orcs and tiny robots. It's quite harrowing, but in the end we managed to revive Kira, and it was a somber occasion carrying Vargas's body back to the Clockwork Chapel. But you can see it all ended up well.
Yeah,
Wow, when y'all left, you were level 4. It looks like you're level 7 now. Hooey! I know, it's been quite an adventure. I never thought you'd come back to Torch. Well, of course we came back.
I'll keep going.
Oh my, I just can't believe that Kira's been swinging around a chainsaw. What would her parents think? Well, she's been swinging it very, methodically. She's grown quite confident with the weapon.
Anyone else?
And with that, Kira cuts through the door with the chainsaw, making a smaller door out of the door, a larger door. So it comes in on the outside of the door frame and just cuts like one that she can walk through while holding the chainsaw.
Makes sense.
It's still running, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah, it's loud enough in here that it just sort of adds into the general din.
That's it. That's the one.
Well, Connor and all the others, I think, will basically, they turn their heads and they'll wave to the lot of you as you come in, and everybody is suitably impressed as the heroes of Torch have returned, victorious from this rather bizarre adventure that maybe not everybody really knew was going on. I think you get lots of offers for drinks for all of you, even though Kira can't drink. That's illegal.
I was gonna say, she buys a soda.
Connor will say, of course, your money's no good here. Everything is on the house.
Everything?
Well, within reason, but beverages and food. And you're welcome to sleep upstairs if you'd like to. In this building in particular.
But Vargas, you want to go cut off a limb for old time's sake in one of the other ones?
No, not today, but I wonder if maybe, Connor, if Val could run the bar for a moment for us to speak in private.
She's like 12, right?
No, we were just like, Kira can't drink. Quick, get the 8-year-old. You, run the bar.
You don't have to drink to run the bar.
So, no, I'll get a different employee who totally has a name to do it. And waves over, Chevis, come here. Chevis comes running over to take over the bar, and goes, of course, after you.
After us what?
I mean, you said you need to speak.
We have information on the Technic League that you might find
He'll
useful, possibly.
hold up a finger, and once you say technically, you can say, perhaps, let's go somewhere a bit more private. And
I thought we had already done that part. Sorry.
he'll lead the way.
Yeah.
Across the way, just over into his house, the Foundry 1, as it's indicated on the map. The numbers are still there all these years later.
Now, is Osmond Sadler... It's not Osmond Sadler, that's the guy from Resident Evil 4, but the one who... Is that the new leader or the previous leader?
Zydo's the new one.
Zydo's the new leader.
Osmond Zydo is the new one, yeah.
I know we have all these names written down, and I should be taking better notes myself so I don't have to keep looking them up. But he'll say to Connor, do you know the name Osmond Zydo?
And he'll nod and say, somewhat familiar with the man.
It appears from information we gained from a captive in Scrapwall that he is now in charge of the Technic League.
Can't say I'm terribly surprised. He's a brilliant but conniving individual from what I've heard, and I know the whispers have gotten to me at least that he's commanded Gartone's loyalty for quite some time, so Gartone's a powerful ally to have.
Then I guess the information we're giving you isn't as pleasing as I had hoped. I was hoping we'd hear that maybe he's someone who would be less interested in sending people like Gartone to Torch than his predecessor.
I very much doubt that. He sighs and looks down. Gartone was actually here while you were all gone. He came with a retinue of some homonuclei and a contingent of gargoyles. They they came to inquire after the news of the torch being out, and they left with Meander.
Well, that's distressing news. I don't know how they got word unless Sandville did manage to get a note to him before he came down under the mountain. Oh, I had hoped to speak to Meander, and now instead we find that a very dangerous person has taken her with him.
Ah, yes, I don't know how much he knew coming in, other than the rumors that the torch was out and the tax payments were late. I was able to avoid seeing him, thankfully. I do not think he would have been happy to see my face, but Dolga dealt with him, and he left one of his soldiers here, a gargoyle, who's been lingering in town to sort of keep a watch over things. I believe the indication was that he was here partially in search of some android, but I don't think Meander was who he was after.
Did they hurt anyone?
Thankfully, no, though obviously I cannot speak for Meander's safety at this point.
He was still alive when they took her, though.
Oh, yes.
And the gargoyle they left, is it... I assume it's not in the... Well, we don't have a jail cell per se. Just a under room somewhere. Where's the gargoyle?
Oh, I have no idea where he is right now, but he's been attending council meetings and generally making a nuisance of himself since he's arrived.
Well, it's kind of adorable, but...
What was the official story on how the torch turned on or off or any of that? What do they know?
They know it was out, but Dolga at least was able to convince them that it was an unexplained phenomenon. The torch sputters from time to time and usually bursts forth brighter than before returning to normal, and I believe indicated that this was just another one of these fluctuations. Obviously, we pretended to be none the wiser as to the actual providence of the torch itself.
And everyone in town, there wasn't anyone that he could have run into that would have mentioned something about us going under to restart it. You did basically throw us a parade when we came back. You're sure no one talked?
He shrugs and looks down a little bit and says, I honestly have no idea who he spoke to or what he came away knowing, but he left, so I don't know that he was particularly interested in whatever's under the hill.
There's like a commemorative mural outside of the foundry of all of us swimming through the lake.
Picture of Brixby pushing the button inside the spaceship.
It's just a small triptych of us under the mountain.
Everywhere you go, kids kick cans up to you and run over to tell you all about the very capable Ford.
Hey, mister, you heard about when the torch went out?
Or form a full number from Newsies.
They went under and they found a whole spaceship down there with all kinds of crazy technology in it, but don't tell the Technic League.
I'll sell you a dead friend blanket.
Modeled after the original.
I'll sell you a dead Fred blanket. Only 1 copper. Authentic. It's got real bloodstains.
I like the idea of the Church of Pharasma doing a limited run VCIV collab Dead Fred and blanket. Do the right, get it? All right, yeah, there we go.
Connor probably wouldn't be the one to ask this. It would probably be Dolga to ask if he said anything about what android he was looking for, because like the only other female android we've heard about recently that's plot relevant is what's her face, Cassandra Lee, or at least was it said she was an android? It was said she was an android, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess we didn't ask Connor if the android that they're looking for is plot relevant.
Yeah.
It seems logical.
Yeah.
Again, this might be a Tolga question, but this gargoyle, how do you reckon is communicating with Garton if it's spying on you.
Honestly, I'm not sure of his capabilities. I haven't seen anything to indicate he's a spellcaster of any sort, though Garton could certainly be messaging him. He's supervising, I suppose he calls it. I assume that it's related to the disappearance of Mr. Tret, that they would be adding security here, perhaps a show of force of sorts.
Could it be communicating with him through some means using the Technic League's technology? If it had something like that, you would be able to recognize it as a former member of the League, wouldn't you?
If there was something I could see, perhaps, but I have been keeping my distance for obvious reasons.
Do you think that creature would recognize you?
Sort of stick out right now.
Vargas being completely oblivious to the fact that he's got 3 metal robot legs.
I don't know that he would have any specific reason to know who I am, but I think a man of any sort walking around on remnant parts from an Androphan ruin, I believe might be enough of note to draw attention.
I only ask because, with all that Cyphus warship, accidents can happen. It's a gargoyle. Do you want us to kill him, Connor? We can do it.
I mean, in all honesty, jokes aside,
The gargoyle, do you think it's better for them to remain here or perhaps disappear under mysterious circumstances?
I honestly don't know. If you'll forgive me for saying, I'm not hugely confident in your ability to make him disappear, quietly at least. He's an intimidating fellow. Honestly, it might be best to just let them lose interest in the place, and hopefully he'll go back to Starfall before long.
Yes, if we were to kill him or even just demand that he leave, anything to change his mission to make it obvious that he was no longer in town, that would simply raise the League's suspicions even more. The best thing to do is nothing. Let him decide that there's nothing here worth having.
I wonder if we couldn't perhaps let some false information find its way to that gargoyle. Something along the lines of, hey, we were out on the road and we heard that there's been some strange android seen over in, Black Pipe or something. Just to sort of throw them off the trail, as it were.
Oh, is there a trail to throw them off of, or you're just talking about trying to get them away from here?
A little of column A and a little of column B. We, despite your reluctance to believe in our combat prowess, have been rather successful in our efforts, as you may have heard. There's no tall tale that I spun in your bar. We believe that we do know that android whom Garton seeks. We believe we may have ascertained her location.
He looks a little surprised at that, and I think it says, and that's not here, correct?
No, it's not here.
That's good. I won't ask you to tell me where she is in case they question me or something to that effect, but I again do not mean to insult your prowess, and when I said I was not confident, but the Technic League are an entity unto themselves with some of the most powerful spellcasters and some of the most powerful warriors in all Numeria at their disposal, and they're very dangerous foes to make enemies of.
I have a chainsaw. Just like sound. That's what chainsaws sound like. I've seen a lot of that in one episode of The Office.
One charge.
Something else interesting we learned about the League that may or may not have to do with their sudden change in leadership. I don't know how long this particular bit of information has been going on, but The Black Sovereign is apparently nothing more than a figurehead they're hiding behind. He's addicted to Numerian fluids and no longer wields any real power.
Connor sighs and says, as I've said, the Technic League are very dangerous foes indeed. They fight in a number of ways, including, but not limited to, the use of addictive substances like Numerian fluids. I cannot say that Kevath Kul is one I would have expected to fall under their control, but have bested a great number of people in their time, and I don't see them stopping anytime soon.
I wonder if information on Kul's condition were to leak out to the general public of Numeria, how many other towns and cities who are more worried about their Kelid armies than their captains would stop following them. I know at least 25 years ago, while the Technic League were an incredibly dangerous force, they were also an incredibly small one, not able to exert much power outside of the city itself. In the time in between, they've used Kevath Kul's resources and reputation to rule the rest of the lands, knowing that he's not in charge anymore could be something worth knowing to the rest of Numeria.
It's possible if it could be exposed somehow. Not sure how he would convince tens of thousands of people, but absolutely, the loyalty of the Kelid tribes is to the Black Sovereign, not to the League. I suppose if there was some way to depose him, but the man, drugged up or not, is one of the most powerful warriors anyone's ever seen. So that may just be a pipe dream.
Well, Brixby's made some excellent banners recently. It's possible he could help disseminate that information in a graphical form.
It's true.
He gestures to the banner he has behind him right now across the torch skyscape. A little visual gag for you people at home. Again, it's a mission accomplished banner. There you go. Yeah.
No, right. Yeah, we could begin a disinformation campaign, or an information campaign in this instance. Yeah, it's I like where your head's at, Vargas, but not to presuppose how I know Kelid culture to be. But I imagine you'd be hard-pressed to prove to anybody that Kevath Kul that you knew and struggle to reconcile with the potential Numerian fluid junkie he is today are one and the same.
It would be difficult. He'd have to be called upon to prove that he was still in his right mind, and the League could simply claim that he was refusing to honor such a insulting request. It would be very difficult to prove it now that you've mentioned that.
However, if we at all gain influence, it's a worthy truth to spread.
Yes, I wonder if our Big Bad Daddy points have any influence at all outside of Scrapwall. Only time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah, what is the exchange rate for Big Bad Daddy points to torch? I got nothing. I'm sorry, I'm also pretty tired.
Well, the thing is, the scrap wall is kind of like the gold saucer in Final Fantasy VII, so your points actually reset to 0 when you walk out of the entrance. Yes, that was a tortured Final Fantasy VII reference.
Yeah, I didn't even get to play the submarine game.
You're going to have to just keep going in and out until you find the person you can just buy the points from.
Connor, what do you know of Yardin?
Well, I've never been there myself, but from what I hear, they're somewhat unique amongst Numerian settlements in that they've generally opted out of the society here. They have an unusually fertile farmlands, and they grow their own food, and they hunt, and I assume they pay their tributes to the Technic League, but they have no ruins to speak of. They have no trafficking in technology that the others do here. I believe it's a fairly monotheistic culture. There's dedicated to Erastil, if I'm not mistaken.
Do you know if anyone here has strong ties there? Family, friends, business partners?
No one that I know of, no.
This might be a question for Dolga, but if you can think of anybody, we may be heading there, and anybody we know on the inside of the walls might help.
And Kira, I wonder if your mother may have ever traveled there in her adventuring.
I don't remember any stories about it, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. She also, didn't tell me. My mom was somewhere in Scrapwall until pretty recently, so who could say?
Well, you know how parents are. They keep it from their kids until it's convenient to reveal for the plot.
For the plot, sure.
They just don't understand. Not that I meant that as a slap in the face.
I see what you did there.
All right, so I'm getting pretty tired. I imagine I should probably, just since we're in this building and all.
The other building is much more comfortable. I can have rooms prepared for you.
Yes, that would be most appreciated. Thank you.
We're just really, really tired.
No, I don't think we're that tired. I think we can make it across the street.
Oh.
Brixby, you weigh like 40 pounds. Even I can carry you. Come on. Do you need a piggyback ride? Oink, oink.
Yes, oink.
All right.
Swarming.
Vargas is going to break into the foundry number 3, which is the one with all of the
Blood remnants.
forging equipment in it, and fall asleep on a table in there.
Totally normal things to do.
Not before forgetting about the docile maintenance robot and beating it into submission before going to sleep.
All right. Well,
No, yeah, we just go and grab a couple Numerian car bombs from Val behind the bar and just...
yeah, the great thing about a 12-year-old pouring the drinks is that she just has no concern for liquor costs. Everything's a double. But, yeah, I think if everybody's going to sleep at the foundry, then we can call it a day on 31st of Eridus and officially transfer to the second month of the campaign.
I mean, Kira will probably go home.
No, she's not allowed to. It's too late. She said she was tired.
Ah, bummer.
If only you hadn't said you were tired.
Yeah. So, okay. Kira gonna break into her house in the middle of the night.
Yeah. We're gonna do all the role-playing parts in the morning.
All right.
Just climbing through a window. All right.
She carves another door with a chainsaw.
Opens up the window, and then there's Mylan Radley sleeping in her room for some reason.
Toss him out.
Pops up and goes, "Hey, I was looking for my contact lens." He jumps out the window.
Hey, good night, everyone.
All right. Star wipe to the morning. Why don't we head over to the Smith household, where when the family wakes up for the day, surprise, Kira's there.
She just sits casually at the breakfast table. Like, all right, what are we having? Which I assume is some sort of beet porridge.
Oh yeah, beets and eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, does not sound that bad. I'll eat anything with beets, let's be honest. Hey, hi. Hey, can my friends come over for breakfast? Also, I missed you all.
A series of double takes, I think, ensue, and her little brother will come careening out of nowhere and just hurl himself at her.
Yeah, she does the whole family thing. Like, she'll pick up her brother, and then, I don't know, go through her bag for the closest thing to to any souvenir, which the first thing I'm seeing is a grenade. Just hand that off. Look what I got for you. Hug your parents. Hug your sisters.
Yeah, they're both there.
It's the whole thing.
The whole.
Oh my god, Kira.
Gross! You smell like road dirt.
Were you under an N or something? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, for a minute. It was. I mean, I don't really remember it, but that's what I'm told. Also, lots of road dirt.
Oh, disgusting. You should
it was gross.
Wash the road dirt off before you sit at the table. You're making the table gross.
She gives that sister another hug.
Now that sister's gross.
Yeah, everyone's gross together.
And I think Kira's mom will absolutely rush over and hug her as well. And say, so happy that you're back. How was everything? How was Scrapwall?
It was pretty cool. Let's see. There was this guy there who didn't like shirts, and we got him to punch a bird, and now his name is different. He's maybe leading some sort of gang. It's hard to say. And then there was this other lady who was a rat person, and then she had to find her rat person friend, so we went to do that, and we blew something else up, and there was a lot of almost dying. And then also there was this whole weird situation where I fought in an arena. It did not go that well, but the part after that went really well, and maybe we killed a god. We should come back to that part. Just the god part.
So you did it then. You protected the town, saved us from the Hellion thing?
Killed the god. He's dead. Also, there was... I think I know where my other mom is, or was. But, well, that part we can talk about after the whole god thing. That generally seems to be sort of the inciting incident here. But you judge for yourself.
Okay, I mean... we can address it in whatever order works for you. That's a lot. I mean, it's...
Yeah, it's weird that it was
well,
what, two weeks that we were gone?
Approximately. It feels like several months. Yeah, right around 2 weeks. A little bit more than 2 weeks.
Just didn't unpack that whole trip, I guess. Except for the parts about people almost dying. We'll skip over that, because she does want to head back out again, and I feel like moms have that whole thing.
Yeah, she would absolutely clamp down, I think, the manacles if we broached the idea of people almost dying, or actually dying in some cases.
Yeah.
Literal manacles. Alright, so you've had at least an initial catch-up with your mother. What's going on over in the foundry?
Which foundry?
Yeah, gotta specify the building.
I was gonna say Vargas is in a different one than the other two.
Oh man, hoisted by my own petard. All right, let's start with the foundry with only one person in it. The foundry number 3.
Vargas, like he does every morning, wakes up well before dawn, jerked out of some other horrible nightmare that he will be unable to forget, and then sits in quiet contemplation, and as he did for the last couple of days, he is going to be consciously attempting to think of divine spells while he's doing this. And he doesn't seem to quite be getting the hang of it yet. He still seems to just have the same 2, and he still is having issue with getting them to work when he wants them to work, but yeah, hasn't exactly had much time to practice with us immediately going into town, meeting Connor and everything, so. But he's just thinking of a lot of stuff. He's thinking of what he learned about Kivath Cool. He's thinking about he defeated Hellion, and it doesn't seem to have stopped his dreams like he hoped it would. He's thinking about the fact that he apparently died and came back again. And he's also thinking about the fact that there's still people from his tribe apparently alive and well. and he's a little angry about that when he considers that the ones who showed up in Scrapwall probably could have solved all of the problems in Scrapwall quite a bit easier than we did and didn't bother to. And that doesn't sit right with him. And he's just thinking about what he needs to do, what the next step is. If it's going after this Cassandra Lee, if that'll help with his dreams, if he needs to go speak to his mother about what's going on with his new powers, what exactly the next thing is. And I think that's part of why he went off to his own little building instead of getting a room at the proper foundry, is just to kind of be by himself to think.
All right, and how about across the path at Foundry number 2?
Brixby, I mean, he never knew there were beds up here. They should really tell people. They're comfortable. He intends to tell the rest of the party. Just because it's pretty clear that we didn't know up until this point. It's weird that it took a book.
Vargas and I slept here, you know.
Huh. Yeah, no.
Before we left.
Just kind of gives you that, like, close blink of non-recognition. It's like,
Asher just sighs as he fixes his gun. Down to only 7 broken pistols.
Oof. Yeah. Take it off the board. That's great. Honestly, that's a little, at least from Brixby, it's just light banter with Asher as he fixes the gun about the beds.
And in true pot against the machine, hanging out in torch fashion, there was no predetermined place for you all to meet in the morning. So I imagine the next several hours are just the party wandering about, trying to find one another and continuously. Yeah, near misses all over town.
It's just a giant Marco Polo.
It's probably lunchtime by the time we find Dolga all together.
Early in the morning, I wanted to go and see in the market if there was a particular gnome dragging a bunch of garbage.
Well, he only drags his stuff out to the market square on Fire Day for like the big market. Otherwise, he's over at the scrapyard. If you're talking about who I think you're talking about, but honestly, that could be anyone.
All right. Of course I am. Well, I mean, if there is ever anybody to feed misinformation to the gargoyle, it's him. And I want to put him on the trail of the gargoyle by just being like, this is technically it's going to get to the bottom of this. You just got to share your truth. Don't be dissuaded. So we can pencil that in sometime in the next day.
All right. If you want to head over to talk to Garrett, you know where he works.
Shouldn't stand in the way of anything very important that we have to do. But, I mean, that is a conversation I would like to hear you have with yourself. Garrett and the gargoyle.
I think when Kira eventually tracks everyone down, she'll hand out the beet granola bars. Like, so I didn't actually ask my mom, but I'm sure you can stay tonight if you want to. Here's some granola bars. Let's go do the thing that we just agreed to do.
You'd mentioned wanting to talk to Garrett. Asher wants to have Dinvaya start enchanting his firearm so that we can get that process going. And then eventually it sounds like we have questions for Dolga, see what she knows, if anything, about Heidenvey and what Gartone was up to.
And this is, I don't know if we add this officially to the list. Maybe we can just do this as we're walking around. But I would like to keep an eye out for signs of gargoyle.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty cool.
That's important.
Should have asked my mom about that.
Noted.
Oops.
So where are we heading first?
We could split the party. Someone wants to come with me to the junkyard, and someone else wants to go to the Chapel of Love.
We probably would talk to Dolga too, right?
Well, I figured we would do that all as a squad after we were done our separate stuff, especially the way that Jeff put it.
don't think Vargas likes Garrett very much. So I think he's going to be Kite Squad.
That's fair. Brixby can just go on his own, especially if, I don't know if Kira wants to go back to her parents' house, but if you want to come with me to the junkyard, I would love it.
Yeah, no, I think she hasn't seen Garrett in a while. Sounds good. It's been a minute.
Oh, man.
All right. So we're splitting the squad.
77 episodes ago,
All right.
Garrett said, it's aliens. And that little gnome was 100% right.
Was totally right the whole time.
Oh, we were so young.
I challenge you to find any lie that Garrett has ever told you.
Now very suspicious of potatoes. I'm happy he's going to be vindicated, and he will become the next Black Sovereign.
Or Bleach Sovereign in his case.
That's true.
All right, so let's head to the scrapyard. Over along the northeast side of town, basically making up the end of town at the edge of the Black Hill, is a mountain of garbage with a little hut at the front of it. And I think from quite a distance you can see Garrett way up on the hill, puttering away at something, like he's just like pulling chunks off of some dilapidated piece of machinery, and every once in a while something will like pop free and he'll almost fall down and catch himself before tumbling off the mountain of junk. And that's what you see as you approach.
Brixby picks up a piece of rusty scrap metal and puts it inside his pouch, and then approaches.
Hi, Garrett.
Hey, Garrett.
He just about jumps out of his skin when you say his name, and spins around in midair and takes up a karate pose. So he's got both hands up like he's going to do chops.
Oh, killer. Watch out there. Oh. But it's just the man I wanted to see. Just the man I wanted to bring this souvenir from Scrapwall to. This
19 Bluff.
I brought you something.
And he narrows his eyes, looks at the rusted piece of crap that just came off the ground from several feet away, and he goes like, "Oh yes, a continuum transfunctioner.
Yeah,
Just what I've been looking for."
just ties the whole place together. I figured it went with the whole decor you already have, and, well, so we're here.
Yes, hello. Who are you again? I mean, I know you, and he'll point at Kira. You're here all the time, but, or like, around all the time, but like, I don't, what?
This is my friend Brixby. He has an eye for weird metal stuff, like the kind that you like. So I just thought you guys could be friends.
Ah, okay. Well, hello, Brixby. Your face isn't made of rubber by any chance.
No. Spurious lies. But now that we're on the topic of spurious lies, don't you hate being lied to? Just like absolutely hate the audacity of someone to tell you that something isn't the truth.
And then he holds up the little bent piece of metal around his eyes so you can kind of see through it.
When you know it is.
Just looking at him.
He narrows his eyes. Everybody's always trying to lie. That's the thing. Because they don't know. They don't know who knows what they know, but they know no one knows. They know that they don't know. You know?
It's true. And it's important to know who does the knowing. But
He looks around at all the garbage and no one around and motions him to come a little bit closer.
We have it on a good authority. The powers that be have left an emissary around these parts, a new one unsullied by potential external,
Looks up at the sky,
influences.
Kira makes ghost sounds behind her hand.
I just think it's, very important. A man whose truth precedes even himself and his knowing of the person who's come to see him, such as this, that you tell them everything that you know, because you need to be heard. Truly, there is not a day that has elapsed that I haven't slapped my knee and gone, and Garrett was right about that thing, too. I do have knees. Don't look down there.
Now I can't help but look down and have a sit down. Anyways, okay, so I think I follow is that there's somebody who doesn't know about the aliens? Maybe? No? Wait,
Yeah.
good job? Wait.
He stops and he looks behind him.
No, never mind, wait. I know who you're talking about. You're talking about the guy, right? With the wings? He walks around. Yeah, he wears a helmet, maybe. Yes, I mean, he does wear a helmet, so maybe it's blocking the signals, the radio signals. We should take his helmet.
Yeah, but not before giving him the truth. And it's important that you take as much time to really convey it as possible. We're counting on you. You know, they refer to us sometimes as heroes, but the real hero is here.
He reaches out, just kind of touches his forehead.
This mind right there.
Blinks several times and goes,
Do you need a job? I am currently operating a secret society. You might be the right type of material to help me find the aliens. Stop them.
I can tell with the discretion that you carry yourself with that you are an excellent head of a secret society. I will certainly consider this when I finish my inferior task of saving this accursed nation. But you, my friend, you must spread the truth as much as you can to other people, but make sure it all gets back to the man with the helmet and the wings.
Okay, so go talk to Big Wing Helmet Guy. Tell him, and then steal his helmet. And tell him the Brixby said to steal his helmet. Okay, and then I'm ready.
No. You don't want to mention us.
he's writing it all down on his arm with like a piece of rust, so it's just all in orange, just smears all over.
Well, after you steal the helmet, if you mention my name, the aliens will be able to suck it out of his brain, mate. So, no names. You know, no names.
Waggles his rat eyebrows.
Vague is good. That's it's how they communicate. Vaguely.
Don't need a lot of words to speak the truth, mate.
Okay. Don't say any names. Helmet. Robot. Wait, not robot. Alien. Wings. Lies. Tell the truth. Steal it. No Brixby. No names. No words. Gotcha. Okay? Yeah. No. No?
Yes.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. I got it.
All right, hands in then. And conspiracy on 3. 1, 2, conspiracy.
Oh,
Conspiracy.
I thought you were going to say 3.
I also thought you were going to say 3.
That was...
And he just looks sad and confused.
And scene. Solid. Really good contribution there.
All right, and just gotta write that down. All right, and cutting over to the Chapel of Bry, where Vargas and Asher have journeyed.
Yeah. Are Kite and Envia holding hands?
I don't think they're
They're sitting on a porch swing out front.
No, they're in the main part of the chapel, and I think that Kite is basically like showing her around the different parts of the shrine and like all the different things they have set up, and like where they keep the extra holy books and all the stuff like that. And, but they're not too preoccupied when you come in. And Dinvaya waves, and she goes, "Oh, hello, just the two of you today."
Yes, Brixby and Kira had something they were going to take care of, and, well, I hope I'm not intruding on your priestly duties, but you had mentioned that it would be possible for you to enhance my weapon at cost, if I recall.
Yes, that's right. Joram will sort of step away a little bit and go, "Oh, yes, we have plenty of facilities in the back to facilitate crafting. Obviously, there's the foundry and then various foundry carts and the artisan skills. There's plenty of places to work, is what I'm saying. This is not awkward at all. You're being awkward."
That's probably true. I've been known to be awkward from time to time. In any case, and Asher would, in a very non-threatening way, draw his pistol from his holster, never pointing it at either of them, but then just kind of spin it to where he holds the barrel and then hands the handle of the gun to Dinvaya.
Dinvaya will come over and take it, look it over, point the barrel, straight at her face like you do when you take a gun.
No, please.
Luke looking at the lightsaber.
Yeah. I'm just checking to see if it's loaded,
This is horrific gun safety. Guns are very serious and very dangerous, kids. And Asher looks at the camera.
All the youths running around outside, just going, throwing cans at each other. It's always cans.
They've got all of Asher's broken
I need those.
They have a library to throw cans at each other at.
Yeah, they're throwing broken guns. Yeah. But Dinvaya goes, yes, I believe it'll take about 3 days to get this up and running, but I can handle it for you.
I sincerely appreciate that.
That's the least I could do after, the lot of you saved my life and brought me back here. Kite goes, saved your life? You didn't mention that part. She goes, we'll talk about it later. It's a long story.
Yes, I'm sure you were up rather listening to the careless whisper in bronze all night. It's a catchy tune.
It was quite the story. We convinced her to come with us into a very dangerous situation during which she was kidnapped, and then we rescued her from it about 2 days later.
Well, that doesn't seem very fast at all. I would have rescued her in 1 day.
I'm sure you would have, Gearfather. I'm sure you would have. Extenuating circumstances, of course. That's a bit of an oversimplification of what happened, but needless to say, I don't believe you owe us any debt, Dinvaya, what with all the hospitality and healing. I have been honored to consider you a friend, and am quite overjoyed that I was able to play a part in reuniting you two, and letting you know the truth that you don't need to live in fear or hiding any longer.
Also, while we're here, Father, you wouldn't happen to know anything about Yadenve, would you? Anyone you know that's there? Anyone in town you may know of that has connections to that town?
He thinks for a moment. I believe they don't take kindly to followers of Bry there. I haven't been myself, but I've heard they're somewhat technophobic people, virulently so. If you're planning on going, I would definitely hide your devices, any devices you may have.
The more we hear about this place, the more it makes sense. We believe there may be an android hiding out, and it doesn't seem like there's too much better place to hide from someone looking for technology than in a town that from what it sounds like, attacks you on sight if they see it.
I'm not sure that they would attack on sight, but they would certainly be hostile. I think if I was an android looking to hide, that may be where I would go.
We're gonna find her, like, on a dirt farm or something with all of her, like, not wires, with all of her tattoos and stuff covered over her.
She's gonna be the one with the baseball hat and the sunglasses and just the big winter coat in the middle of summer.
Yeah.
Very not suspicious.
Do we have anything else to talk to the two of them about? Yeah, I think we're... Actually, you know what? He will say, also, Father, and you as well, Denvaya. And maybe Father Radley would be another one to talk to. I have recently come into divine abilities of my own, and wonder if maybe at some point I could talk to the two of you about finding out possibly why this would happen and what I should be doing to help foster these abilities and grow them stronger.
And they exchange a look between the two of them, and Joram will go, well, yes, certainly. My door is always open, except, when it's closed, wink, wink. But anytime you would like to have a conversation, I would honestly welcome it.
Well, thank you very much. Thank both of you.
Yeah, Asher would just thank them and be ready to walk out.
All right.
As if Vargas is as well, as they walk away, Asher would just kind of shake his head and say,
I didn't want to embarrass the man, but, all doors are open unless they're closed. It wasn't anything particularly special.
And Vargas will say, yes, I think that may have been like a metaphor or something. Also, I just realized you're also someone who has come into divine powers recently in their life. Is there anything you can share about how it happened to you?
I must admit, it was a surprise to me, as it has been seemingly to you. I had observed and been around paladins and clerics of Kaldir when I was in Alkenstar. It was something I also didn't expect to have the knack for, but it sounds as though you'd tried to pursue this, whereas I wasn't particularly interested in it myself. But the experience for me was, something that I didn't see coming, but I was able to sort of follow after what I had learned and what I'd seen others do. I wonder if, despite your relationship with her, you might find, thinking back on things that you'd seen your mother do, you may at least find some sort of guidance as well, in that we don't always anticipate the past being a teacher for the future, but in some ways it continues to surprise us when it comes up to be relevant.
That's actually very good advice. Thank you, Asher. And I realized after saying that sounds really crappy. Like, wow, I'm surprised you gave good advice. It was not meant to come off like that. I realized as I was saying it, like, wow, that's very rude.
Asher didn't catch that at all, don't worry.
Yeah.
You're quite welcome. I'll admit I still feel as though I'm discovering what I'm capable of, but at the same time I haven't thought to lean too heavily on those divine powers. I feel as though I could choose to follow that path more and more, but it seems these days I still have much to learn in the way of the gun in order to defend those who need defending.
Yes, that's something else to think of, whether I want to continue trying to grow this power. I'll admit it's something I've wanted for a long time, but learning the Jiskin arts has proven to be incredibly helpful for me. I don't know if I want to give that up in order to focus on these new divine abilities or not. It's something I need to think more on.
Yes, it's certainly not something to rush into, but I think you're on the right track, even just thinking about how you want your path to be, because you do have the privilege of setting your own path.
Thank you again for your advice and just for everything this past month.
Well, you're welcome, of course, but thanks are due to you and Kira and Brixby coming back here to Torch after what felt like months in Scrapple. I feel as though we're hardly the same people we were when we left in some aspects, but at the same time, it's thank you as well.
The feeling, I guess, then is mutual, and Vargas will put out his fleshy hand, his left hand, and hold it up for Asher to shake.
And Asher will warmly return the handshake, and he'll smile.
How's this, a predator handshake?
Oh, yeah. It's the only one he knows how to do.
Asher, you son of a word we can't say on this podcast.
Of a normal human mother and normal human father. TM. Now,
Well, I think with the party splitting part of the episode complete, though, obviously this is the part where you each get in separate encounters that are both designed for the full party, and we have a TPK. You managed to meet up without incident.
We just run into the blind time in the center of town. We're like, oh God.
It's a giant blind time this time.
And the other party runs into 6 gargoyles and some of those horrifying baby homunculi things. Turns out Garcon came back.
But they're all incorporeal.
Shall we go see Dolga? I'm interested to hear how the lovebirds are doing.
Yeah, you guys didn't find a gargoyle, right?
No, we saw no sign of it on the way to the temple.
It's probably good.
it occurs to me now, walking through these streets again, that now that we know the fate of Garmin Ulrith, it seems to be a vacant real estate lot. If, when all's said and done with whatever adventures we find ourselves on, there could be worse places to put down roots for a bit. Something to think on, I suppose.
Kira tries really hard not to say anything or otherwise give away that she's excited. Her eyes go wide and she just clutches the chainsaw just a little too close. Yeah, we could all think about that if you wanted. It was just something to keep in mind. Maybe we could hesitate in that. Put roots root down or whatever.
Just a rootin' tootin' whatever.
Boy, howdy. Although I do wonder what happened to Nick Shariel. We'll have to change the locks, of course. She may have a key.
You find out she's just been hiding out there the whole time. She never left.
No, she is going to come back with Patchy Blue as this deadly duo in book 6.
I had completely forgotten about her, but yeah, we never ran into her in Scrapball, which you figure would be where... We also never found out who turned Garmin into a horrible demon monster.
Weird. Probably nothing.
Curious.
Mm-hmm. It's super random.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Just Numeria things.
Maybe, maybe it's a fluid thing. We don't know what's on that table. Whoops. All chitons. Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things like the weird four-toed foot statue in Lost that seems like it's going to be important, but then they forget about it halfway through season 2.
I'm sure they always had something planned for that statue.
JJ knows.
They're just waiting for the spin-off. But if you head on over to the town hall and up to the familiar chambers where Dolga's always working, there's Dolga. sitting at the table going through her various papers, and sitting across from her in a entirely too small for him chair is just a massive gargoyle. Full on plate mail armor with his huge wings folded behind him. And he's sort of leaned back in the chair, kind of partially just because his legs are too long and he can't really sit comfortably. He's got his arms crossed in front of him. Looks just a little bit as you come in, and then turns his eyes back to whatever papers he has on the table in front of him. She looks, oh, hello, all of you. Welcome back.
Hi, Dolka.
Are you Blink? If you're not having a good time.
Everything is fine. This is Master Sazduk from Starfall. He's joining us for the time being, and Sazduk, these are some associates of mine. They go by the Very Capable Four as a group. Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, no, I mean, we don't really have a group name. There's no reason to really name just a bunch of unrelated acquaintances that get together on Toil Day for Tuesdays at Charlie's, you know, what it were. We were just, anyway, Asher.
Very smooth.
Brixby just swarms into someone else's square to get away.
Yes, Dolga, we didn't realize you had a guest here. We certainly don't mean to intrude. We were just, as Brixby said, here to, just kind of stretch our legs about town and, well, always good to drop in and see you. I do hope you've been well.
Yes, and the same to all of you, of course.
I hope that you keep being well. Let's say we continued on our plans to get chicken. Do you want chicken with us?
Perhaps I'll have some chicken with you this evening after the close of work. Gargoyle just doesn't even look up. He just sort of flips over a piece of paper and just like a big growling sigh.
Can any of us from where we're standing see what he's looking at? Like, does it look like maps? Does it look like something written?
Yeah.
Is there a way to do it, like, without obviously leaning over his shoulder? Like, do a perception and a stealth, or just perception, or...
I would say just a perception.
That is a 12 on the die for a 20.
With a 20, it looks like he's got, like basically long series of letters in front of him. Several different sets of handwriting. But it's hard to read from that far away.
Can I 29 read it?
With a 29, maybe the slightly canonically higher angle of Kira's eye line, even though it's the same height. Kira can see that it looks like he's basically assembling a set of like testimonies of like the people basically having described a series of events over the past several months, just sort of talking about like descriptions of their day-to-day lives, what they've done, anything unusual, like very mundane looking documents, and it's just in all sorts of different sets of handwriting. Like he's assembled reports from lots of people, and he's very tediously digging his way through them.
So he's probably looking for info on what happened to the torch, because they clearly don't believe when she said it just turned back on.
It's just a poster in the back of us all collectively flipping a novelty-sized light switch with the torch turning on. That's just like...
That's been... she has it framed, but it's turned around facing backwards, so it's just weirdly just a cardboard rectangle hanging on the wall. Just totally blank. She says, yeah, perhaps we can talk later if I say, meet you over by Charlie's in the evening.
Well, you would need to pick up that customary chicken if you were still planning to come to dinner.
Of course, the customary live chicken for dinner.
Yes.
Or pet.
Yeah.
Typically on the family to...
The chicken's not for dinner. It's, well, maybe it is. Who's to say?
Anyway, good talk.
Yes, good, totally natural and in no way suspicious talk.
Just all back out.
And as you're leaving the room, the Sazduk is gonna slap down the paper he was looking at and finally turn his head to look at the lot of you and say, wait.
There's only 8 chairs. I'm so sorry.
And then I'm going to bed.
Yeah, he heard you mention you were eating a live chicken, and that got his attention.
It's like, ooh.
Oh, no.
Night, Sam.
Good night, Sam.
Sam.
Against the machine. Against the machine.
Pot Against the Machine is property of Network Against the Machine LLC, all rights reserved. Pathfinder and the Iron Gods Adventure Path are property of Paizo Publishing. See their website for more details. Theme Against the Machine was written and performed by our own Zach. See the show notes for additional music and sound licensing. If you enjoyed the show, we encourage you to leave us a review.
I think with that, I didn't punch my microphone. You punched my microphone.
Sorry. Is he voiced by Keith David?
I don't know who that is.
The voice of Goliath from the hit Gargoyles
Okay.
TV show?
As well as, like, basically any
other game
video
hero
game character
and
or
villain.
yeah,
God,
or
haven't
Sam.
done
animated
Wild.
character you pick.
It's like
is
you
probably
haven't
voiced
been
by
playing
Keith
Mass
David.
Effect.
He also plays Keith David in Saints Row 4, which I love. He's the guy that got in the 10-minute fight with Roddy Piper in They Live. Trying to
Man,
put the sunglasses on.
if ever I thought who
As
would we
you do.
pivot to other than Dwayne Johnson, turns out it's Keith David.
Dwayne Johnson, Tim Curry, and now Keith David. All right.
I was going to say, I could do a Keith David podcast for sure.
Yeah. I mean, only one
don't
of
know
those
which one.
actors was in Community. I know, and that's sad. For me, and for you, and all of Greendale Community College.